everybody. My name is David Carney. I'm the Executive Director of the Career Industry Council of Australia. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the first of our webinars in our AI and Career Development Month, which actually kicks off the 2024 season of the Seeker International Webinar Series. Before we get underway today, I would just like to make an acknowledgement of country. So the Career Industry Council of Australia would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connection to land, sea and community. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm hosting the webinar on the lands of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and I would like to pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples who may be joining us for the webinar today. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get underway, just to let you know that this session is being recorded. You will be provided with a copy of the recording on Friday. The recording will be open for 14 days for viewing from Friday. We do have the chat function open today, so feel free to add your comments to the chat. If you do have any questions for Michael or Marianne, we would ask you please not to put those into the chat. Please put them into the question box, which is located either at the bottom or the top of your screen. It just allows for ease of facilitation. We have had enormous interest in the whole series to date. We have had over 700 people register for this particular webinar. Obviously, not everyone will be joining us live, but we do have big numbers on the webinar this evening, Australian time. So we would ask you please just to, if you can help us with those questions, just to put them in the Q&A. And also just know that obviously with such a large number, we may not get to everybody's questions. So we do apologise in advance if we don't get your question answered. As I said, this is the first webinar in a series of webinars through this month. Seeker is celebrating AI and Career Development Month. We have 3 further webinars this month, all on the Wednesdays on the 14th, the 21st and the 28th. If you're interested in any of those webinars, again, there is no charge to attend any of these webinars. They're all complimentary. Feel free to visit the Seeker website, click on the events tab, and you'll be able to register for any of those events. So it's enough of the housekeeping. It's time to get underway. I'd like to welcome Michael and Marianne to the International Webinar Series, and in particular to our AI and Career Development Month. Michael is a digital learning and innovation specialist and brings experience in career development and delivery with a proven track record as a career practitioner. He currently works at the Career Innovation Company, crafting digital products to support individuals and organisations in their career journey. And he's joined this evening by Marianne, who is a postgraduate research student based at Edinburgh Napier University. She has professional experience in data governance and in interdisciplinary academic background in humanities, social science and computing. Her PhD project was sponsored by Skills Development Scotland, who we've heard from as part of the International Webinar Series in years gone by. And it explored human-centric approaches for the design of chatbots for career services. So we're in very good hands tonight with Michael and Marianne, and I will throw to Michael. Thanks very much, Michael.
Hi, thank you, David. Actually, Marianne was going to introduce this section, but I'll start off as I think she might be having some connection issues. So
no, she looks like. Sorry, Michael. Looks like she is there. I apologise. I thought you were starting, so sorry, Marianne.
No, that's okay. Just if you're okay to share the slides, Michael. And yeah, so thanks so much for inviting us along to talk about AI today. And given that you've all signed up for the session, I'm sure that you're probably aware that it's been a bit of a hot topic recently. So artificial intelligence itself is a bit of a strange term. I think it was originally more of a sort of marketing term, but now it's been used in official government policies and things. And it doesn't refer to one specific type of software or hardware. It's usually defined along the lines of technology that's capable of doing something you would normally expect only a human to be able to do. But under the hood of most of these products is different kinds of computer programs that essentially just can find really complex patterns in massive data sets. And then depending on the kind of data that they've learned the patterns from, it can be used for a whole range of seemingly complex tasks without requiring detailed step-by-step instructions up front. So the technology that drives AI is not new, but until recently, it was mostly behind the scenes. So serving up recommendations to us on Netflix or Amazon or LinkedIn, things like helping doctors interpret medical scans, trading stocks and shares, and predicting trends in everything from voting intentions to COVID infections. But the launch of ChatGPT into the public domain by OpenAI has fueled a real sort of uptick in interest around AI. ChatGPT and the similar offerings like Bard from Google and Claude from Anthropic, they apply this same pattern recognition and prediction to language in a way that simulates human conversation. It's very convincing, but it relies on the same fundamental principles as like predictive text or even good old Clippy from Microsoft Word. The difference now is the size of the data sets and the complexity of the patterns that can be detected. This means that these chatbots are capable of much more complex interactions and sort of human-like responses. And you've got image generation technologies like DALL-E that have gone through a similar trajectory, but with pixels instead of words. And the potential uses and implications of this technology has been driving a huge amount of discussion. And the field itself is also in flux. The capabilities of the technology and the legal landscape around it are still shifting into place. So what we want to do tonight is present some of this discourse that's been happening around AI with a particular focus on what this means for career practice. And in keeping with most of the internet, we're going to do this by adopting two quite extreme opposing stances. And these don't necessarily reflect our own positions, which I think it's fair to say are probably more moderate. But the idea is to sort of serve this up as some food for thought so that you can take a reflective approach to AI in your own practice. So I'm going to hand over to Michael now for the optimistic view of AI.
Thanks, Marianne. So I want to take you back in time, first of all. And in the early 1990s, I was starting out as a trainee careers advisor in South London. And I started on my journey with the basic tools of the trade at the time, which were printed encyclopedias of careers and reference books, filing cabinet full of paper leaflets about different occupations and training opportunities, and bulky computers that lived on trolleys in the corridor with an enormous dot matrix printer on the bottom shelf, noisily clattering away throughout the day, printing reams of information. So these were the cutting edge resources of the era, but they marked the beginning really of a technological journey for me in terms of careers guidance. And today, I think we're witnessing a paradigm shift with the advent of AI in career guidance. And AI has transcended from being a futuristic concept to being an integral part of our daily lives. And it's embodied in things which many of us will be using, our smartphones, our virtual assistants. If you've got Alexa at home, sorry if I've just triggered your Alexa device, the emergence of platforms like ChatGPT and Bing, or Microsoft Copilot, as we're now to name it. These signify a new era in career advice. So AI is not a replacement for human skills, but an augmentation. And this is a vital perspective in our understanding of AI's potential role in career guidance, where it enhances and extends the capabilities of career advisors. It's not about replacing them. So in a conservative estimate by McKinsey, AI can automate as much as a quarter of administrative tasks. And this is an efficiency gain that's not just a testament to AI's role in simplifying processes, but it also makes the space to enhance the quality of human interaction in career guidance. So it's going to create time for us for tasks like more strategic thinking and individualized and personalized support. I think AI can facilitate collaboration and teamwork among career guidance professionals. And an article in the Harvard Business Review looked at how humans and AI are working together in 1,500 companies. And this article highlighted how AI can enhance teamwork by providing shared insights and data analytics. And AI agents can assist by gathering information, doing the data crunching, and providing routine customer services. So in our world, that can potentially lead to more fine-tuned, comprehensive career advice when humans and smart machines are working together, enhancing each other's strengths. AI has unparalleled data processing capabilities, so it can democratize career guidance worldwide. And AI offers us the potential of making career advice accessible globally. And this aligns with the vision of providing universal access to career guidance. AI can significantly contribute to making career guidance more inclusive. As per UNESCO's report of 2020, Artificial Intelligence and Education Guidance for Policymakers, AI can help make career guidance significantly more inclusive, they say, and bridge access gaps for underrepresented groups, promoting equality and diversity in career opportunities. They also published research on artificial intelligence and gender equality, suggesting that AI could help reduce bias and stereotypes by providing objective and data-driven information and feedback and exposing learners to a wider range of career options and role models matching their skills, interests, and values. So AI can significantly enhance the client experience in career guidance by providing instant responses and personalized advice. AI can make the guidance process more engaging and efficient, and it leads to higher client satisfaction. AI's adaptability to individual needs and aspirations is revolutionary. And we're starting to learn how AI systems can offer tailored, personalized career development, training, and learning pathways. And the AI landscape is continuously evolving, presenting us with new tools and techniques. Elon Musk, at the recent AI summit at Bletchley Park in the United Kingdom, remarked on AI's potential to enhance human intelligence and creativity in new ways. And this aspect of AI can revolutionize how everyone develops their skills, keeps their knowledge current, and adapts to changing job market trends. And that extends to career practitioners too. So continuing professional development is crucial in the career sector. AI can play a significant role in CPD, providing career practitioners with that latest information, trends, and tools. And I think this will ensure that advisors can remain at the forefront of their field, equipped with the most current knowledge and techniques. AI can also aid us in understanding and addressing career transitions. And as careers become more dynamic and less linear, AI can analyze patterns and provide insights into effective transition strategies and help us as individuals navigate our careers and the changes in our career paths. AI can also help us in terms of predictive analytics, and this will be valuable for us in understanding and making sense of future job trends and the necessary adaptive skills to help individuals remain current and relevant in their work in the labour market, which is changing and evolving at an ever increasing pace. AI's impact extends to a deep analysis of the job market, and it can process vast amounts of data to identify those emerging sectors, growth areas, and declining industries. And this insight will help career practitioners, guiding clients towards sustainable and growing career fields, because AI has a real potential in identifying skills that will be in demand in the future, preparing our clients for emerging job markets. Its analytical power could be applied in interpreting that labour market data to provide greater and more impactful insight upon which to base career development and education decisions. And the tech industry's focus on ethical AI development is really critical for maintaining trust in AI-based career guidance. Tim Cook's statement about Apple's commitment to ethical AI focused on fairness, transparency, respect for privacy, and this underscores this priority. He advocated for strong regulation and ethical standards in the development and use of AI. And he said at the World Economic Forum in Davos in 2021, we believe that privacy is a fundamental human right and that AI can help protect it. We also believe that AI should be designed to respect human values and uphold human dignity. So in conclusion, I think the integration of AI into career guidance represents not just a chance for us to adopt new technology, but a significant shift in our approach. AI opens up an opportunity to redefine the horizon of careers work, to bridge the digital divide, and to craft a future where technology and human insight come together to illuminate pathways for career exploration. And at that point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Marianne.
Thanks, Michael. So as I said at the start, there's a lot of hype around at the minute, and some of this is very positive. So there's lots of enthusiasts out there who would agree with everything Michael's just said. And there's also people throwing around phrases like existential threat to humanity. And I think, or at least hope, that the more immediate concerns are less dramatic than this. But that doesn't mean that there aren't serious risks that we need to consider. And so it's this sort of pessimistic view that I'm going to lay out now. I think I don't need to tell this audience that navigating career choices is an intensely personal process that's shaped by an individual's inner hopes, anxieties, personal circumstances, and more. When AI cannot truly empathize, it can efficiently analyze data to generate recommendations, and chatbots can provide a simulation of empathy and understanding, but neither of these can intuitively guess when a customer needs reassurance or contract with them for deeper guidance in the way that a skilled practitioner can. And I think we really need to ask if we want to reduce career guidance to a cold, data-driven exercise. To use a quote from one of my research participants, career development theories have come so far past the old matching paradigms. Do we really want to go back to that? And AI can undeniably crunch huge amounts of data far faster than humans. But that does not mean that the outputs are in any way objective. AI is only as equitable as it has been trained to be. Unfortunately, most of the data used reflects the systemic biases of society. There's already examples of AI perpetuating or even exacerbating discrimination in areas like recruitment, banking, medicine, criminal justice. And even if they're not actively discriminatory, many of these tools just don't work properly for people who are already facing barriers. So people from the global majority, people with disabilities or neurodivergence. When applied to career guidance, which touches so many aspects of someone's life, it's really crucial that we scrutinise these tools for equity. And while there are concerted efforts to mitigate the worst of this by developers, how can we trust systems developed by a tech industry that's still grappling with its own toxic tech bro culture to make fair recommendations about someone's career? Or, what worries me even more, to be left unsupervised to set its own definition of what fair means. And big tech's hype and marketing clout will also help to make AI appealing to career services and practitioners. There are time and cost savings that AI tools can offer. It can quickly generate a plausible looking CV or identify someone's likely skills based on their job title. But over-reliance on AI risks de-skilling career practitioners themselves. We need to think carefully about what we choose to delegate to machines. As humans, a lot of our most valuable skills are use them or lose them. We need to exercise them to keep them sharp. If we come to depend on AI, we're tying ourselves to the companies that make them. We lose bargaining power and oversight. These corporations already dominate so much of our digital lives. Do we want career practice beholden to their bottom lines? A practice that can have so much impact, not just on the individuals who benefit from it, but on the structure of society itself. And speaking of society, we can't ignore the environmental impacts of AI. Developing these systems requires vast computing power, which means huge energy consumption and the carbon footprint that goes with it. We all have a responsibility to consider our climate impact, especially given that the services that this is feeding is intended for users in the global north, who already benefit disproportionately from the planet's resources. And there are other issues in the AI development pipeline, a new form of sweatshop, where people in low-income countries are employed under poor conditions to manually review huge swathes of psychologically distressing content so that we users don't have to be exposed to it. When we use AI, we're creating a market that drives this supply chain, which means we need to think about whose machines we're choosing to delegate to. It's important to retain the ability to practice ethically and independently, without pressure to conform to the commercial interests of AI providers. We've also got the risks of AI de-skilling our customers. Over-reliance on AI career tools could erode individuals' capacity to make informed career decisions. If AI takes over navigating information and the analysis and self-reflection that's crucial for managing our careers, clients could become passive recipients of advice rather than active agents in navigating their own paths. AI should not be a replacement for clients developing the skills they need to make choices aligned with their own interests and values. Careers advisors spark that curiosity and give clients the confidence to explore and exercise their autonomy. Does that fit with encouraging folk to make career decisions using the same technology they would use to pick something to watch on Netflix? And the risks to clients' privacy are equally concerning. The transformation of our personal information into a revenue stream for tech companies is not unique to AI. There are already countless examples of our personal data being unethically employed, sold, or leaked by traditional online platforms. But the appeal of being able to automatically complete daunting things like writing a CV is going to be a persuasive carrot to encourage clients to share their data. And of course, those who can afford to pay for premium services will reap more of the rewards of this convenience. And I think that this goes to the heart of the biggest risk. AI tools are accessible and convenient for clients as well as practitioners. And for many people who don't understand the nuance of career practice, it might seem like a reasonable substitute for a conversation with an advisor. To quote from another of my research participants, there is a danger that folk will log off and think that the job is done. The real risk to the sector isn't necessarily human advisors being intentionally replaced in the name of efficiency. It's the risk of those lost opportunities to connect with clients, to spark those deeper engagements. And one of the first steps to mitigating this is being incredibly clear about what career practice is for and what are the core values that drive it, and having a seat at the table when decisions about the role of AI within that are made. I don't believe that that code is something that should be automated. Without high quality career support delivered by responsive, knowledgeable professionals, individuals are going to lose out on the lifelong benefits it provides, and society will be the poorer for it. So while AI is more than capable of taking on tasks that we would rather not, and to make guidance more efficient, we have to be clear about what the limitations and hazards are. I've outlined what I think are some of the more pressing concerns around the risk to individuals, to the sector, and society as a whole. And these are risks that have to be faced with our eyes wide open. As a profession, it's crucial to maintain oversight over if, when, how, and whose AI should be used to help people navigate their careers. So, although Michael and I agreed in advance that my job today was to present the doom and gloom, I'm not really just a naysayer here to tell you to run and hide from this technology. That would be hypocritical. My own research is exploring how we can use chatbots within a career service. And most of the concerns that I've talked about are rooted in the product pipeline rather than the technology itself. And AI does have its uses and people will use it. In fact, for the next section of the presentation, we decided to see what kind of script some AI chatbots would generate for a debate on this topic. So these are bots from some of the big players in the field, and we've selected and edited these a little bit for coherence. But you're going to hear some similar points raised to what Michael and I have already mentioned. And that indicates that these are present in some form or another in the huge volumes of human-generated text that are used to train these models, or in the guardrails that have been put in place by the developers. So over to you, Michael, with the bots case in favour of AI.
Thanks. So the use of AI in providing career education, information and guidance to students has tremendous potential benefits. AI-powered chatbots and recommendation systems can provide personalized advice at scale, helping guide millions of students towards lucrative careers that align with their strengths and interests. And these technologies can continuously learn and improve their recommendations over time as more data is collected. So overall, AI stands to make career counselling far more data-driven and effective, while expanding access to students who previously lacked mentors and role models.
So while AI technologies hold promise, we should be cautious about over-relying on them for major life decisions like choosing a career. These systems have inherent limitations and biases based on how they were developed that can negatively steer students, especially those from marginalised backgrounds. There is no substitute for human wisdom and empathy when providing guidance to young people struggling to find purpose and meaning in their work. We risk focusing narrowly on salaries and in-demand skills without appreciating the holistic development and fulfilment careers can provide. AI should complement rather than replace the irreplaceable emotional support and wisdom human counsellors offer students exploring critical questions of identity and values in charting their life's work.
It's unreasonable, it's unrealistic to provide every student personalised career counselling from a dedicated human advisor. AI-powered solutions can fill gaps through scalable, data-driven recommendations on in-demand skills, salaries, job satisfaction metrics, and more. Of course, there are limitations, but the technology continues improving, and algorithms can be tweaked to address issues as they arise. With the right oversight and transparency, responsible development of AI for career guidance provides a more inclusive access to job opportunity insights that previously relied on personal connections. So sparing students from choosing career paths blindly or based solely on their passions, which don't always translate into viable careers in our complex employment landscape.
There are undoubtedly accessibility benefits for some clients, but guiding human potential and purpose extends far beyond skills and salary data, demanding counsellors' human judgment, compassion, and understanding for people's holistic needs. AI isn't infallible and can perpetuate bias if not properly managed. For example, if the AI algorithms are trained on historical data, they might inadvertently carry over past discrimination, further entrenching inequalities. To avoid these issues, we need rigorous oversight and regulation in the deployment and development of AI and career guidance.
I share your concern about bias, which is why the involvement of career practitioners in the development and oversight of AI tools is vital. We can contribute to shaping ethical AI that benefits our diverse client base. Furthermore, career coaching services powered by AI are growing in sophistication, offering more than just job matching, but also developmental advice and support.
Well, we can be optimistic about the role of AI. We must also prepare for the socio-economic implications of its widespread adoption. Career practitioners have a role in helping clients navigate not only the current landscape, but also to anticipate and adapt to future changes that AI will inevitably bring to the workforce.
That's true. I mean, preparing for the future means understanding AI's potential and its limitations, so we can provide comprehensive support. Let's commit to staying informed and agile, ensuring that we use AI as a tool to enhance, not replace, the personal, nuanced career guidance that we can offer.
And that very reasonable point seems like a good one to end that bot debate on. And one of the reasons that we wanted to do this was to demonstrate the power of these tools. The AI-generated content that we just repeated is measured, persuasive, if a bit repetitive, with very long sentences, but it surfaces a lot of the human concerns about AI from its data set. But you can also see subtly some of the assumptions that are being surfaced as well, that career services are for students and young people, and that career practitioners are in a position to have meaningful oversight over these tools. And these concerns about effective oversight of AI are unfortunately not specific to career practitioners. There's been a flurry of policies about AI released recently, and I'm going to attempt a very quick overview of some of the different approaches. The first thing that I want to highlight is there's been kind of different categories of response to AI in the policy space. So a lot of governments have published a national AI strategy, and some might have signed up to a declaration, and there's a few who have issued actual regulations or legislation. And the landscape's now so complicated that the OECD now has a dedicated portal for keeping track of international AI policies and incidents. So as a case in point, Australia has 43 policies around AI listed in this portal, but thankfully the majority of these are to do with funding for specific AI initiatives. But there is an AI action plan, which takes a pro-innovation approach to AI, where oversight and regulation is based on applying existing laws and governance to AI, rather than any specific dedicated legislation. There's also an AI ethics framework, which includes voluntary principles for organisations that are using or developing AI to adhere to. And then just last month, the Australian government announced that they would in fact be exploring options for putting mandatory guardrails in place for high-risk uses of AI. And, you know, this is quite a common trajectory. The UK government's been quite similar. There was a pro-innovation white paper in March last year that relied on existing legislation and regulatory bodies for oversight. Then in November, the UK government hosted the AI Safety Summit that Michael was talking about, that resulted in what's now called the Bletchley Declaration, that was all about international cooperation on policies around AI focused on risk. But the UK's now just had a bill for specific AI regulation proposed. And although this is a private member's bill in the House of Lords, so it's not likely to get passed, it's indicative of some level of concern around what is currently in place in terms of regulation. In the US, there was specific legislation. So there was an executive order on the safe, secure and trustworthy development and use of artificial intelligence. So this took a principles-based approach, and included a specific action that the existing Institute of Standards and Technology will create guidelines for testing and mitigating risks in AI systems. It also included a requirement that any government organisation using AI had to actively mitigate any potential discrimination that could arise from it. Also in the US, and although it's not national legislation, I just want to mention something that might be of interest to this audience, which is that New York State completely banned the use of AI in recruitment all the way back in 2021. As well as this, we've got the the EU AI Act, which is the most comprehensive of all the AI policies so far, and the one that's in the news most. I just wish I had a name that was easier to say. So this was first proposed back in 2021, and it applies to any AI system operating within the EU member states. And how this works is it uses 4 risk categories to determine the level of compliance and oversight that an AI developer will have to comply with. So at the bottom, there's a category for things like spam filters or the AI that runs your chess game on your mobile phone. And this is actually the kind of AI that most of us probably interact with most often, but don't really think about. And there's no requirements for these systems. So if you use predictive text and accidentally send an embarrassing message, I'm afraid you've got no comeback under the EU AI Act. But at the other end of the spectrum, we have the unacceptable risk category. So these are things that are outright banned and that I assume are not relevant to this audience. So this is things like using AI to manipulate people or circumvent their rights. But it's these 2 middle categories of risk that are much more relevant. There is a limited risk category that applies to things like chatbots, where the obligations are largely around disclosure. So that's making users aware that these are automated systems that they're interacting with and highlighting the risks and limitations. If anyone has used ChatGPT yet, you'll have seen this already with the wee warning it includes at the bottom of the screen. And then we have high-risk uses of AI. So these are systems that are allowed, but where the organizations deploying them will be under a range of obligations before they can be launched, mostly around ensuring transparency and auditability. This category is very relevant to career practitioners because both employment and education have been specifically identified as a high-risk domain for the use of AI. And even if you're not in the EU or developing or commissioning these systems for yourself, this is important to bear in mind. These have been identified as high-risk domains for a reason. It's a combination of the potential for the high impact on individuals' lives and how opaque and unpredictable AI outputs can be. There's also the possibility that a lot of countries will eventually use the EU's Act as a template for their own approaches. And all of this is a really complicated and fast-moving space. So if some or all of this is news to you, that's absolutely to be expected. And exactly what it means in practice and where the liability is going to fall between developers and their customers hasn't been tested yet. So existing legislation is hotly tipped as likely to be the first big legal test for the big AI developers. So things like copyright infringement, where the hypothetical question is, if you are making use or if you make some money using an image generated by an AI that includes a cartoon mouse with big round ears, who will Disney sue? Is it going to be you or the AI developer? Or if you're in the EU and you outsource all your guidance conversation with your clients to ChatGPT, please don't do that. Is that a limited risk of an AI chatbot or a high risk use of AI in employment or education? And these are things that just, they haven't been legally defined yet. And some countries are already using existing policies to restrict AI. Italy placed a complete ban on ChatGPT based on copyright law pretty much immediately. And then you've got countries like China, Russia, Iran, and Venezuela who already restrict their online content. And so they don't allow access to most of these tools under those policies, but haven't specifically banned them. Generally, AI-specific policies are more principles-based, with what limited regulation that has been proposed is sort of risk assessed based on the actual harms. And we've also got some international organisations with policies trying to sort of steer the development and deployment of AI globally. So some of these are AI specific, like the OECD's Global Partnership on AI, or UNICEF, who are doing some really excellent work around children's rights and AI, sort of under their normal remit. And a common thread across almost all of these is the benefit is that they all include statements about the importance of supporting innovation and realizing the potential benefits that AI can offer society. And it's a similar balancing act to the one we're trying to do in this session. On the one hand, this technology is potentially amazing and could help us build more equitable societies and let individuals live more fulfilling, less admin-filled lives. And on the other, it could do literally the exact opposite. The aim for policymakers and individuals using AI is to get as much of the good with as little of the bad as possible, which means knowing what you need to look out for. So as career practitioners, how can you make sure that you stay on the right side of this legislation, given that it's hard to keep track of what even applies? And I think this really depends on your role. If you're involved in procuring or developing these tools as part of your job, you need to understand the right questions to ask. AI vendors are savvy enough to mention ethics or fairness in their sales pitches these days, but you need to be sure that their definition of fair and ethical is aligned with your own definition as a career practitioner, and to make sure that this is documented very clearly. But for most people who are just going to be using these systems, really it just means taking the same informed, curious, reflective and ethical approach you would about adopting any new technique in your practice. So please keep that in mind, as I'm going to hand over to Michael now, who's going to be talking about some of the practical applications of AI in career work.
Thanks, Marianne. I'm conscious of timing and wanting to leave a little bit of time for some questions, so I'm going to go through this quite quickly. AI already in use in a wide range of recruitment tasks, from those sort of algorithms that decide what job adverts you get shown when you log into LinkedIn, to specialized platforms that employers use to screen CVs. Many people are discovering that they can use generative AI tools to assist them writing documents. And so we're seeing that people are using them in job applications and personal statements, maybe even using tools to create an even more beautiful profile photograph for their LinkedIn or their social media profiles. AI is very useful for analyzing large complex data sets and making predictions. So tools like Lightcast scan sources like job postings, company sites, news, social media, and they use natural language processing to extract from that data with which they can make labor market trends and support organizations with workforce planning. But their application is not limited to that. It's also used by universities to enhance their recruitment and by colleges to plan employability curriculum for their students. AI is also revolutionizing learning, and it can be used to generate learning resources and materials. I think we have the opportunity to be more creative and playful, perhaps, in some of the things that we are, the resources that we are creating ourselves to use in a careers context. ChatGPT can suggest personalized learning pathways and podcasts and resources. it can tailor activities and content to an individual's interests or context. It's also one of the very valuable aspects is the multilingual capabilities. So, for example, you may have a document which is a PDF written in English, but using an AI tool, it can be asked questions in another language and generate responses in another language based on that content. And I think when students or clients come to advisors, in some cases, they may have already used AI to do research or to work on documents. And we need to know enough about this technology to be able to help them be critical and develop the skills to evaluate the validity of what they have found so that they can too use AI safely and ethically. And AI-driven chatbots can help advisors and students or clients, especially with things like planning, goal setting, and progress review. AI tools can help advisors to create more personalized, contextualized resources, such as career stories and case studies, assessments, games, simulations, challenges, scenarios for use with individuals or in a classroom group session. And I think advisors can gain AI support through conversations with an AI tool as they prepare for a careers interview or reflect afterwards on a careers interview they've conducted. So just to wrap up, Marianne and I have embarked on an exploration of the transformative impact of AI on the careers sector, engaging both that sort of optimistic and cautious perspective. We've examined the potential to revolutionize career guidance by enhancing the capabilities of practitioners, increasing accessibility and inclusivity, and providing personalized and efficient services to clients. We've also delved into some of the significant concerns around privacy, equity, and that whole essence of human interaction in careers guidance. So as careers advisors, we stand at the forefront of integrating AI into career guidance while also having to navigate its ethical, practical, and regulatory landscape. And your role in critically assessing AI applications, advocating for ethical standards, and ensuring technology complements, not replaces, the nuanced human touch in career guidance is just more crucial than ever. So I hope our presentation today and the discussions have underscored the importance of staying informed and agile, fostering a reflective practice, actively participating in shaping the future of AI in career guidance. By leveraging AI responsibly, we can harness its potential to enrich career guidance and remain vigilant to its challenges, ensuring that we can all provide high quality, equitable, person-centered support to individuals as they navigate their career paths. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael and Marianne. What a great way to start our month. I think I loved the perspective of taking both sides. I was keeping my eye on the chat, and I think we've definitely got a mix of people who have had a good play with AI and those that are sort of starting to get a better understanding of it. I think you would both agree that I think probably for the average person, we might have seen the rapid rise of AI happen fairly quickly over the last 12 to 24 months, but in fact, it has actually been going for some time. It's probably just come to greater notice. I think, and reading some of the comments in the chat too, some people have said, they've used some of the tools to create CVs and things like that, and they're fairly dry. And I think probably in this early stage they are, but I think probably you would both agree that as these bots start to learn, and I think that's where we're talking about those guardrails. I think sometimes where governments are talking about guardrails, as the bots start to learn, what is perfected obviously becomes, more of a challenge, I think, for us as a profession. I think at the moment we do sort of sit back and go, yes, there is still a human interaction part of the career development industry. There's the career counselling component. People are still going to want that human contact. And I would agree at the moment, bots can't replace that. But, where we are 5 years from now, who knows? So And I think somebody made reference to, the latest thing that happened recently, with Taylor Swift on the X platform, where to the untrained eye, it looked and sounded exactly like her. And so, we do need to be careful about that. There are two questions, I think, Michael, that we might get to, and then I might ask you just to talk a little bit about the CDI's program that you might want to talk about as well, and how, if people want to stay in contact with you and Marianne, how they would do that. So I'm not sure if you can see the questions, Michael, but if you can't, I might just, there's a question here saying, Sonia from New Zealand was asking, she was wondering how, as a career practitioner, we can provide guidance in a world that is changing at such a rapid pace. So I think that's probably similar to sort of what I was talking about how do you maintain that human contact. Your views.
I mean, I do think part of this is about getting to grips with what's happening in the development of AI and keeping up to date with emerging practice. Things are changing so rapidly. You're quite right, I think it's really important that we become familiar with what's available and how things are developing, and try to stay up to date to keep our knowledge updated. Marianne, I don't know if there's anything you'd add to that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have concerns about the fact that that's been pushed onto career practitioners. With the speed that these tools are being released. But yeah, like looking behind and kind of not taking these tools, the marketing of these tools at face value is, I think, really important.
I mean, I think one thing that I would add as well is that some AI tools are emerging in the workplace, which are changing the way in which employers are allocating tasks and activities. So there is some potential for a change in the way that work is distributed and organized, breaking things down more into tasks, so less occupationally specific and more by project or task. And these sort of talent marketplaces, as they're called, are emerging rapidly, especially in larger organizations. These potentially have implications, I think, for how we prepare people for transition into working life.
I think that's a really good point, Michael. I think, the challenge, I think, that career practitioners have, and it depends on, in what part of the industry you're actually working, is that point, right? So today we've looked at how we can incorporate AI and use AI in our own practice. But I think as career practitioners working with clients or students, it's that impact that AI is having on the future of work that we also need to be across, right? We have to stay in touch with that, because otherwise, if we're not in touch with that, if we're not staying connected with industry and knowing how industry are using AI, then in some respects we are becoming a little irrelevant as a career practitioner, because we're not across what's happening in that world of work. That, in some respects, probably at this stage, is a much greater challenge for career practitioners, especially down here in the busyness of, especially those working in schools. They're very time poor. And so trying to keep across what's happening, with AI in their own practice and how they can support, students, and also keep across industry, I think is going to be a great challenge moving forward. And I think that there's definitely a role for organisations like ours and other, career practitioner-based organisations to make sure that they're providing opportunities for their members to stay across that type of information.
And you might have seen in the media some recent research in which those involved in AI development were asked when they thought AI would be capable of doing most human work tasks. And the consensus from the results was 2047. So that was, it's not that far away. It might seem a long way away, but actually this is signaling that those involved in the development of these tools can see and predict major impact on the world of work.
Mm. There was one there, Michael, about you mentioned, I think, in your initial comments about that AI protects privacy. Someone's asking, could you elaborate on what you were talking about in relation to that?
Well, I think AI can, depending on the exact AI tool that you're using, I think you need to be really careful about privacy. Making sure that you understand how that tool is treating your data. If you're entering your data or information as a prompt, you need to understand how that tool is using it. Is it adding your content to the model, for example, and then sharing that publicly? Now, not all tools treat your data in the same way. So I don't think privacy is a given with AI by any means. And there's also an unfairness in that often it's the paid for services that have better privacy controls. So if you're using public ChatGPT, your data may be being added to a large language model that's publicly available. If you're using the paid subscription version, your data may be have better privacy protection. So it's really important to look at the privacy terms and to understand that, and for your clients to understand that too.
And to Michael or Marianne, do you think that the advent of AI is widening the digital divide? I think Marianne, you might have touched a little bit on this in your initial presentation as well.
Yeah, I think it's got the potential to close some aspects of the digital divide, in that it's going to make it easier to interact with digital information for people who would maybe struggle to kind of use a screen and point and click. It's potentially going to make that easier, but it's adding an economic component to that, in that, exactly to Michael's point, if you can pay for these are products. So if you can pay for a premium service, you're going to get more of the advantages. So yeah, whether that's digital divide or economic divide, I think it's definitely going to have an impact. I think also, just to flag up this, in terms of the impact on the world of work, we noticed a lot of the impacts that have been seen so far are quite gendered. So the ILO published a report kind of saying that the jobs that are most likely to be replaced by AI tend to be professions that are dominated by women. And that's kind of what's been targeted by the AI developers. So there's lots of different divides that I think it's got the potential to impact on, and it's just too soon to see how that will lie.
And there's definitely an age dynamic to this as well. ChatGPT usage, for example, last year, 2/3 of ChatGPT users were under the age of 35. And as you then go up each further decade beyond that, the percentage of users diminishes rapidly. So there's a very huge concentration in younger people using AI technology, well, such as ChatGPT, certainly.
Mm. And I think just to finish this off, and then I'll pass back to you, Michael, to talk about the CDI course too. I think the interesting thing too for people to get their head around too is, like some people think that, when you go onto some of these chatbots, that really all they're doing is just, scraping the internet for information, whereas some are doing that, but some are actually machine learning. So they're not actually scraping the internet at all, So, when you look at ChatGPT versus Bard, they're very different types of tools. And I think there is this misconception that, you can go into a chatbot and just type something in, and really all it's giving you is what's on the net, which is not actually correct.
Yeah, absolutely would agree with that. And it's very interesting actually to compare the results that you get from some of the different tools. So to type exactly the same prompt into Bard or Claude or Microsoft Copilot can generate very different results. I mean, an example, one of the interesting things in Copilot is that it tends to give you the references to the actual documents and websites from which it's found the information. So it's a bit more transparent than some of the other tools.
Yeah. Michael, did you want to talk about the CDI course?
Yep, very briefly, just to say that the Career Development Institute is about to launch a 6-week blended course on AI for career practitioners, which is led by myself and Marianne. We'll be starting, well, registration it will be opening soon, and then the course will go live on the 25th of March with week 1 starting just after Easter. The first 3 weeks are self-study online with a live webinar as well. And then we're working in project groups on AI projects. So you'd be working with a small group of other career practitioners. And we end in week 6 with a project showcase where we'll see the results of people's efforts working with AI tools and creating careers projects. So if anyone's interested in that, you can connect with either Marianne or myself on LinkedIn. Well, we've got these links here below in the slides as well. And you can also find details of the program will be advertised next week by the CDI on thecdi.net.
Well, that brings us to a close. Michael and Marianne, on behalf of the Career Industry Council of Australia, thank you very much. It's been a great start to our AI and Career Development Month. I think it's definitely set the scene for what's going to be a very challenging and thought-provoking month, I think, for most of us. I think, you know, like we're all learning and we're learning fairly rapidly. And I think for the two of you, you're probably leading a lot of us. So we do thank you for what you've brought to the webinar this evening for us and early morning for you. So again, on behalf of Seeker, thank you very much for your contribution to the webinar. Thanks everybody who joined us today. As I said at the outset, this is the first of 4 webinars. We have another one next Wednesday. The timing will be different. Our presenter is coming to us from Ottawa in Canada, so it'll actually be at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So the time will be different for participants in Australia. If you're interested in that, please visit the Seeker website, click on the events tab, and you can register for the one next week or the 2 remaining after that. Again, no charge to attend any of the webinars throughout February. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Marianne. Have a wonderful day. And wherever everyone else is joining us from today, if it's the end of your day, have a good evening. If your day's just starting, have a good day. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye.